Alright, your Office of Hazard Material Safety, Field Operations Inspection Investigation Enforcement Manual version 2.1, effective date October 5th, 2017. This is an update on the file. Alright, Chapter 8. Chapter 8, Planning, Conducting, Completing Accident Investigation Overview. Investigator Responsibility, Accident Investigation Document. The role of the relation between hazard material with the associated package of the scenes of accidents. Typical headache in hours and days immediately following the incident with a variety of federal, state, local safety and emergency officials usually converge on the scene, which can present operational, logistic, jurisdictional changes for an investigator. Investigators should guide with the following steps during the course of completion against assigned accident investigation. Using exiting mechanisms, including other national incident management systems, and incident command system, command structure, if necessary, to collect the available evidence that will enable them through investigation. Generate, communicate, initial update, executive notifications for activity in accordance with this manual. Aggressively pursue the determination as to the root cause through the failure analysis process articulated with the investigation management handbook. Perform thorough compliance determination, consideration, entire transportation stream, coordinate efforts, progress of the applicable bondal and administration, product final investigation reports included all corresponding executive notification for activity, finding summaries, evidence, interviews, photographs, etc., identification of command recommended with the back practices applicable, the applicable enforcement safety recommendations of the applicable commute. The report, including findings and recommendations, develop lessons learned, share with the regional leadership, and the refer to app enforcement actions as appropriate. Lesson learned. In addition with the collecting findings of the fact of the reporting conclusion, effective to accident investigation program help to capture, share lessons learned from the accident incidences to 1. Improve the hazard material transportation safety. 2. Improve the own incident investigation process procedures. PAH 50 and PAH 60 will provide the lessons learned with the general public. Accident investigation reports will be posted on the PHMSA website. Incidents can be tracked before the form 5801 data searches, lessons learned through observation experiences are recorded with the course of completion of the investigation, which could be used to make implementing new procedures to amend the existing way of doing things to improve the hazard material transportation safety. The improvement gained with the lessons learned analysis generally fall into the 1 or 3 categories. Those improve the hazard material transportation through the recommendation actions taken the responsible part of it. Improve the hazard material transportation safety indirectly through the broad-based knowledge sharing. Viva the adversary bulletin seminars, workshops, conferences, improves industry standards, new hazard material transportation safety regulations, etc. 1. Those improve hazard material transportation safeties as a result of the improved PHMSA investigation process procedure. Preparation and planning. Investigators' fitness for the assignment of the incident occurred with the determination is made with the on-site presence of the need for the regional chief investigator, prospective investigator, shall meet to discover the investigator's fitness to respond. Investigators made limited with the number of factors that include the current physical impairment of the personal matters or other concerning which may impact the ability to respond in a timely manner. The regional chief of the investigator shall take the employee's concern with a consideration before making the final decision assigning response personnel. However, the investigator limitations concerned do not preclude the regional chief of the investigator with the direction of the investigator to perceive the accident scene, but unless the discussed condition may result in the violation of the law. The termination incident level, the response to accident categories in 3 level 1, 1, 2, and 3. There is uncertainty level the response due to the availability of information for the higher 2 levels should be selected. Level 1, on-scene response not required. Minimum impact of the people, the environment, non-incidents, which does not normally meet the reporting requirements pursuant to Title 49, 171-15. Incident examples of small-scale hazard the incident including no death, injuries, excavations, closures, major transportation infrastructure, major interstate highway, railroad, airport, or waterway. Response examples of the major and minor incidents may require phone investigation, executive notification, possible regional referral to follow-up inspection at the responsible party's location. The incident command structure, unified command, normally not activated, limited to the immediate with the mitigation incident, but the corollary issues, minimum event will know multiple operational periods, follow normal executive notification. Level 2, on-scene response possibility, moderate impact for the people of the environment meets one or more with the reporting requirements in 171-15 poses a substantial potential for impact. Incident example, the medium scale of the hazmat incident result of the moderate impact of the people or the environment. The incident may require the multiple agency involvement. Examples of these incidents includes hazmat incidents resulting in death and serious injury to people, the public excavation, major transportation infrastructure, major high interstate highway, railroad, airport, waterway, and or facility shut down, moderate environmental impact due to the unintended release of the hazardous waste incident with the transportation or in the transportation stream. Medium-scale events involved with the non-bulk packaging incidents where model agencies do not respond with the provided information predicted request for the investigation technical assistance. If the on-scene response is deemed necessary, the regional director responding investigator should generally be on scene within 24 to 48 hours following the receipt of the first report. The length of the time needed for the response shall be discussed between the regional chief and investigator during the fitness of assignment of the discussion. Reasonable example of the phone investigation and or on-scene response investigation, executive notification, investigation follow-ups may require preparation, accident, incident, root cause of the investigation report, possible regional referral to follow-up inspection at the responsible party location, possible partial incident command structure, unified command, activated possible operational periods, follow normal executive notification criteria, and follow normal written criteria, report written criteria. Alright, level 3, the partial or full activation of the on-scene response requires several the impact of the people of the environment meets one or more Title 49, 171.15 criteria, but poses substantial harm and is directed by the leadership of the investigation. Is also involved with the coordinator with the national investigation. As the scope of the investigation will most likely require the assistance contribution for the investigation resource for the ACRO for the multiple regions, may also involve the federal and state partners. Incident example: large-scale hazardous incident resulting in severe impact for the people of the environmental, normally requiring multiple agency involvement. Major hazmat and then consent with the resulting death and serious injury to people, public excavation, major transportation infrastructure, and major interstate highway, railroad, airport, or waterway, and or facility shut down for the extended period of time. Self-environmental impact due to the unintended relief of the hazard material, hazard waste storage incident with the transportation and or in transportation system. Significant events within the bulking or non-bulk train packaging. In the most cases, they will require that the on-scene response of at least one investigator, possibly with more, depending on the size of the intent of the response of the investigator, should generally be on scene as soon as possible, but no later than 24 hours following the receipt of the first report. Length of the time needed for the response shall be discussed between the regional chief of the investigator of the fitness assignment discussion. Response example requires mobilization, accident investigation resource for the on-scene response for the investigation notification and investigation follow-ups required for the preparation accident incident root cause for the investigation report. Incident command system and the unified command normally activated may require the interagency coordinator with the integrate with the NIMS UC structure with the written incident action plan operation plans extended multiple operation periods. Model coordination. Other agencies have a similar authority for the conduct of the investigation accident incident, especially with the CNIs. The duplication effort with the coordinating with the cooperation with the other module agencies as well with the state, the local, federal agency with the paramount during the investigation. PHMSA will attempt to partner other agencies with shared investigation interests in order to achieve success with a more transparent and collaborative validation for the federal hazard material transportation regulations and during the incident accident of investigation will be managed according with the module memorandum of agreement and according with the relative selection of the field operation manual. The reports complete with the baby dealing with the violation discovered. There's no requirement to be conducted a full or follow-up inspection, shipper to carrier of the other party. Conducting accident investigation. Arriving on the scene. The focus of the emergency response following the incident with the mitigate with the hazard with the ensure the safety of the response personnel surrounding the community with the environment with the role investigators. Now for the first responder, investigators should exercise appropriate level of the caution pain to allow for the first responder to complete their duty. The investigation will have ample opportunity to gather evidence of the conduct of the investigation after the scene has been cleared for the safety. However, the investigator should use the incident command system and the national incident management system structure with a highlight with the request for the accident evidence that may be suspectable to damage the result of the response operation photos, accident site with package. Investigators should not attempt to collect the data themselves. They should ensure physical evidence has been properly decontaminated. Safety consideration, investigator safety, primary concern for during the accident investigation. All PHMSA employees on-site accident scene and must adhere to all agency safety policies. Employees may not either potentially or perceive the dangerous situation. Refer to the safety consideration details chapter 2. Mandatory optional equipment for conducting accident investigation. Additional equipment listed below shall be worn with a provided with each of the investigator with a respond to the accident. Binoculars, chief chemical resistant glove with extreme cold weather gear as needed. Flame retardant shirts and pants and coveralls as needed. Flame retardant reflective safety vests and intrinsically safety flashlight. K8 RAD meter and 3-step ladder is needed. If the leader investigator responsible to ensure the PHMSA personnel seen with the accident with the wearing of the mandatory safety equipment, all the minimum in addition for the identification by the other agencies, PHMSA employees will wear appropriate PHMSA issue personal protective equipment and uniform items for the conducting the accident investigation. Executive notification. Investigators will respect the unique position to collect with the disseminate key of the accident information to help with the decision and advise the leadership of the executive of the notification. Executive notification reports that have developed the share of initial critical information about the incident with the wide host of the PHMSA senior executive that reports all permits investigators to easily provide the update with the condition of the series. Scene change with the template of the executive notification can be located with the link of the PHMSA apps.gov executive notification. PHMSA established baseline criteria with the incident requiring an executive notification report for the incident detailed information associated with some of the not fully available at early stage incident, but there is indication of the significant relevance of the PHMSA and the dots and such investigators and regional leadership should be used for the criteria below the deciding the executive notification is warranted. Executive notification criteria are listed below the categories. Fatal injuries or excavation for the hazard material relief of the indication one or more have the material called fatalities and multiple injuries. Excavation of the shelter in place of the 100 or more individuals due to hazard material release. Environmental infrastructure safety per property impact. Significant environmental impact, property damage, infrastructure destruction, damage, widespread community impact, including drinking water sources caused by hazard material and transportation, anhydrous ammonia with the relief of the accident and related relief of the toxic inhalation hazard material affecting populated area greater than 100 individuals or more. Significant explosion potential related with the hazard material transportation. Catastrophic failure with the bulk shipment. Table 1 hazard material. Table 1, Section 172.504. Major disruption supply energy product for the transportation infrastructure of the major interstate highway, railroad, airport, or waterway. They expect to last more than 24 hours to resolve the incident involving the hazard material of the transportation, liquid natural gas, marine carrier incident while loading, unloading, particularly relating to shutdown operations, suspected release of the radioactive materials over the transportation incident. National significance, sensitivity, media, external interest, National Transportation Safety Board, Chemical Safety Board, or other safety oversight for the agency that have launched an investigation team, the emergency special permit associated with the incident requested from issued PHMSA. Strong indication incident explained with the criteria contained in the herein may be met. Suspected noteworthy criminal terrorist activities involved with the hazard materials in the transportation. Major Washington, D.C. metropolitan areas. Hazard material transportation incident, national media attention, potential political interest if required, a senior state local official with the governor, major member of Congress. In all cases, the assigned investigator is responsible for completing the initial exam of the notification report update for the necessary unless previously completed with someone else of the region. During level 2 and 3 of the investigation, will the necessary investigator to provide updated information leadership until the point of the event with the controlled majority initial investigation is complete with the executive notification report shall be modified indicating the update of the number in the subject line with the report shall contain all the initial information included with the additional data obtained with the on-scene with the result further investigation. More than one update can be sent over the course of the on-scene activity. The report shall be provided updates of previously reported information, not just duplicated, which has been already provided with the previous report. The number of executive notifications is dependent on the situation of the scene, whether the major change over the curve of the death and now reported significant increase of the excavation. Initial notification expected to be reported 12 hours over the region. Receiving the initial notification incident upon executive notification are to be provided with the needed basis circumstances scenes over the change of the be more of the serious important point of the member of the executive notification serve as the best member to keep the regional national leadership updated of the investigation staff, as is always best for the over the informed leadership of the incident of the under-informed. A lack of information often leads to a question which may distract the investigators from performing their primary duties. As the accumulation of the major scene of the investigative activities where the scene has been mitigated, the cleanup of the may still go ongoing. The investigation shall send a final executive notification report. Subject line shall include the word final within the subject line with the report determination as well with the investigator made to depart on the scene with the made with the consultation agreement with the region and national leadership. The guidelines regarding check-in frequencies updated with executive notification reports are just the guidelines understood with some of the geographical areas, accident incidents, and activities make up above the requirements impractical and impossible. However, the every practical means the possible should be used to maintain lines of communication between investigators with the regional and national leadership. Regional leadership investigator check-in schedule is important and establish a routine check-in check-ins between the investigator and some of the scenes and the respective regional leadership of the communication serve the several purposes that include ensuring everyone is safe with the operative equipment available to the providing update for the status event with the following guidelines establish the timeline for when the investigator should contact with the regional leadership. A halfway point during the transit of the scene with the travel exceeds 2 hours immediately after the arrival of the accident scene. Wherever the significant new facts have developed in the situation with the accident site change significantly as directed by the regional leadership. Multiple investigators are sent for the same accident scene with the regional leadership will assign with one investigator with the role investigator in charge. Investigator in charge will serve as the principal of the continuity region of the national leadership team of the scene of the report. Integration of the incident command system. Ineffective of the unified command of the indispensable, the responsible activity required with clear understanding of the roles, responsibility, participating over organization integration incident command system, a component of the national incident management system, is an important element of the ensure the interoperability across the multiple agency incident management activities. The unified command structure enables the organization to verify the jurisdictional authority to respond to the incident to support each other through the use of the mutual objective that each of the participating agencies maintains owns authority, responsibility, accountability, the incident command system, the response organization framework designed to enable the effective of the incident with the effective of the management, integration, combination, facilities, the equipment, the personnel, the procedure for the communication operation with the common organizational structure. The incident command system is the normal structured facility activities of 5 major functional areas: the command, operation, planning, and logistics, intelligence, investigations, financing, and administrative. PHMSA investigators will not normally be led to investigate agencies any activities incident scene, but the PHMSA role is strictly post-incident investigation, not full first response. This is a unified command structure. If an incident command instructs the unified command and established investigator shall, upon the approval of the incident command post, the equivalent notification liaison officer for the arrival upon checking the investigator should review the brief regarding the status of the incident site safety plan or organizational review. The liaison officer may direct investigators report designated with the division group to supervise the operational section chief, and then summon the incident investigator respond to the incident with the support role function over no circumstance investigators indicate and initiate any of the on-scene without prior approval for the operations section chief designate of the integrated incident command structure command system structure is active. Investigators should obtain and familiarize themselves with the incident briefing and site safety plan with the organizational assignment list. An example of the copies located with the appendix. Investigators may be asked if they should be provided with the reward, provide input with the incident command system forms with the outline plan activities involved with the accident scene helps unifying command structure and ensure all the need for the unified orderly manner. State and tribal local official with the contribution. Most major incidents of the management of the local government level of the incident could typically require the unified response of the local agency, private sector, the non-government organization. Some of them require the additional support of the neighboring jurisdiction if the day of the government with a small number of the incident requiring federal support are led by federal agencies. Normal response to the protocol structure with the provider of the terry level of support when the additional resource of the capability they need the responsible for the responding natural with the man-made with the incident if they have the reasonable recognizable geographic boundaries generally begins at the local level. The individual's public official of the county and the parish city and the town with the affected by the incident. Most major scene with the highest ranking first responder of the scene with the most likely initial incident scene command with the such policy office. Sheriff, state, police, fire department official generally by the time the investigator arrived at the scene of the accident with the officials replaced with the representative across the federal, state, the tribal, local governments from small scale incident. The investigator may arrive at the scene. State or local official is still managing a response without initiating the form of the incident command system structure. For those cases of the investigator should report the lead official inform as for the purpose of the objective. On-site priorities. There are 4 main priorities of the investigator to accomplish when they arrive at the scene of the accident. They include the collection of the related to the classification, communication, packaging, integrity, and remediation. Classification. Investigators shall verify the shipment compliant with the classification test requirements, package selection, package testing within hazardous material regulation. Investigators determine the classification testing performed prior to the shipment. However, the shipper will determine which package to select, whether it's necessary to obtain the test report of the package selected, but as needed, the investigator may need to complete the follow-up compliance inspection to obtain additional information. Communication. Investigators should collect the evidence to how the shipper to carry the display with the presumption that area has communication requirements, has material regulations, including communication between the carriers and first responders, initial reports, shipping paper, the packaging, marking labels. Investigators record how information influences the decisions and actions of the first responder conducting the interviews of the first responders, carrier personnel will be available with it shortly after the incident has been mitigated. Package integrity. Investigators should determine the root cause of the contribution factors of the package integrity with the documentation of the package behavior, the critical package of the material of the construction dimension, qualification, testing information, lead, load, securement. Remediation. Investigators should verify the accuracy of the amount of the produced and products billed, the recover the total damage caused by the transportation vehicles surrounding the infrastructure, home street, the accession for the costs associated with the excavation, with the impact of the environmental, and the articulate with the investigation management handbook. Investigators should notify the responsible party, most likely carrier, with the responsibility with the submit with the DAP form 5801 with the 30 days with the incident with the DAP collected with the 5801 form. Critical component of the helping to prevent future incident of the form should be submitted within 30 days to avoid penalties and force fails over the division. As remediation investigators shall provide regulatory oversight with the ensure that any of the spilled product is prepared, packaged, and handled according with the hazardous material regulation re-entry with the transportation network, include with the examination transportation vehicles, with the ensure that the display with the proper marking placards for vehicles are suitable. Evidence collection. Collection proceed with the identification, protection, preservation, and evidence of the need for this part of the accident investigation. Critical important the investigators should be guided with the following steps. Ensure that they have completed with thorough examination of the accident scene, with the have them put in place for the adequate safeguard of the evidence collected. Incidential scene examination. Search investigators should conduct through the examination scene search of the incident of the scene with on the local physical evidence witness of the incident, but the search may have delayed until the area of the need of the search is deemed safe for entry with the first responders. Limited personnel access. The investigators shall prepare part with a relatively small team with a permit with the near package of the damage result of the incident. With the investigators shall report with the pending person and unauthorized personnel with the operational sectional chief or designee of the investigators shall document with the name of the purpose of the other investigators who have been granted access for the critical over the evidence for the initial description of the scene. Investigators shall recover through the description of the accident scene with include with the vehicle video and in particular pictures diagram with the preserve of the initial condition scene prior to the remediation. Investigators shall photograph the incident scene with include with the exterior and interior if applicable with each of the package. Damage. Refer to Chapter 2 below for the additional information regarding the scene video with the photographs collection. Evidence collection. All the evidence must be collected legally in order to be admissible to the court. All evidence fully described with the chain of the custody form of the photograph of the prior to the pickup. The investigator should know how the evidence was obtained. Collected investigation report. Evidence marking. Evidence should be carefully marked with the identification of the other can include with the priority marking label the serial numbers, preferably with the article by using tags and labels. Marking should be cross-referenced in the documentation chain of custody form of the investigators report. Confidential protection of all the evidence collected with this part of the accident investigation, both of the open and closed cases, should be treated with the confidential. Any request for the evidence collected with the investigative report should be forwarded with the office of the chief of the council for the consideration of final disposition. Common evidence collection worksheet. The common evidence collection worksheet reports are below. The rail tank worksheet, the cargo tank worksheet, intermediate bulk container worksheet, cylinder worksheet, drum worksheet, freight container worksheet, box worksheet, portable tank worksheet, radioactive material worksheet, the pail worksheet, explosive observation report, statement over the observation report. Photograph evidence proceed with the guidance of the photographic evidence proceed with the documentation investigation management handbook should be filed with a reference to the following of the guidelines. Ensure the optimal photographic evidence to support the investigation finding of the conclusion recommendations. Safe and secure scheme of the scene of the investigator shall ensure for the scene of the safe of the video of the photography necessary intrinsically safe. The cameras must be used to evaluate the conditions. Camera settings should be adjusted for the light with the location whether the conditions since scene vary for the indoors, outside, both. They include large vehicles. Small package involved with the multiple rooms, any combination location. There is no single camera setting will work at all if they're all scenes. Capture scene on the scene of the investigator shall take up the photographs before anything of the distributor progressively working with the scene of the outside with the close up of the picture. Investigator should first capture the entire scene with using a wide angle. Show the initial approach throughout the area of the close of the image of evidence that can be taken with the content with the establishing with the scene with the first of the with a wide medium shot is critical with the additional photographs should be taken a look up with the scene with the captured evidence environmental effect but it may be over the scene with the aerial photography videograph that provide with the perspective of the scope of the incident. Photographing victim of the investigation should photograph victims but both fatal if and present with the non-fatal show for their location of the injury sustained with the victim must be moved to the required with the treatment prior to the investigator's arrival with the investigator should follow with the document with the victim's injuries. Various techniques to use the special lighting of the color filters connected with the highlighting of the injuries, bruising, and scarring. Photographic evidence of the piece of the evidence. Photograph of the illustrate with the location of the discovery of the established relationship with the evidence of the package, the transportation device of the photograph shall be taken with the straight above the tray with the right angles, eliminating potential distance distortion. Each of the physical pieces of the evidence should be a photograph of the scale of the indicate the side of the photograph without a scale of the evidence marker. Photograph should be taken with the before and the after evidence of the markers or position if used. If initial images are important to demonstrate that the scene was not compromised, that the camera is not new evidence for the investigator makes new evidence for the complete series of the shot with the repeat and include with the all evidence shot. These photos should be included with the entire piece over the evidence and scale to indicate size. The operating efficiency, sometimes the environmental factors should rain, snow, or traffic take main conditions of the difficult. The photograph of the investigator must work with efficiently judicially capture as much visual documentation as possible from deterring weather seen. Or chain of custody with the control of the evidence of the receiver to obtain the chain of the custody initiated from the point of the forward the time of the evidence transfer with the one responsible individual to another link of the attachment of the chain of the custody. Important establishment of maintain unbroken chain of custody in order to protect the rights of the entities involved with the integrity of the evidence accomplished with the use of the chain of the custody documentation form of the accurate reports and form of the receiver. The record must be maintained by the evidence custodian authorized evidence room. Evidence custodian typically with the investigator is managed with the temporary checkout of the evidence with the relatable between lab and testing facility. The chain of the custody form shall be obtained with the original signature of the name of the person taking custody of the evidence. For evidence remaining legal, valid, admissible with the court of administrative hearing, for the existence of each link with it must be supported with documented proof of the creation of the continuous existence evidence collected that should be fully described in the chain of custody. Forms of photograph that prior to the effective additional of the evidence should be carefully marked with the identification of the marker should be described the chain of the custody form with all evidence except the file of the documentation possession of investigators must be listed. Chain of custody forms as well with the circumstances under which the came into the investigator. Evidence is put with the transportation tracking of the documentation should include the chain with the custody form. The custody chain must continue with the interruption without interruption until the evidence is presented with the court administrative hearing, returned to the rightful owner, or legally destroyed, disposed of in accordance with the policy. Proper collection, proper reservation, handling with the safekeeping of any of all the physical evidence being immediately with it comes in contact with the investigators' possession and recipients chain with the custody form for each of the such evidence prepared with a copy given to the person with the evidence was received. The end of the transfer custody involved, including the relying on all and any part of the materials will be documented with the comments section chain with the custody form with the related to the PHMSA reports. Evidence of the hazmat should not be brought back for the investigator resident for the furthermore information investigation handbook. Completing interviews. Collection statement. The interview with the written statement that should be conducted with the corner for the chapter 2 with the following with the important reminders, particularly with the accident investigation the investigators should consider. Best interview with the statement of the collective with the code for the actual time of the incident occurred with the overtime of the witness account with the not fresh accurate with the employee representative with the emergency respond with the emergency dispatch can serve with the valuable resource with the help of identify others might have the information relevant to the investigation. Copy of the statement they gave with the other investigation agencies of greater time of the state with the resource with attempting a certain facts surrounding the incident with appropriate interviews should be conducted privately outside of the presence of the other potential interviewees and for the general public. Follow up with enforcement action with some activity. In some case, the investigator may need to deal with the compliance of the inspection shipper of the carrier of the facility with the very compliance has material requirements that have more to require condition of the investigator outside of the region where the incident occurred, but the investigator should contact the respect with the regional chief of the investigator record for the incident assistance outside of their region. If the probable violation are found, the investigators should collect all of the evidence, documentation, support the enforcement action. Investigators should follow the standard procedures identified in violations detailed in Chapter 2. Media and investigators involved with the media should be limited. The interaction must commonly occur with the PHMSA office of the government public affairs. Normal circumstances the investigator should refer to the requirement of the PHMSA's Office of Government Public Affairs. However, the often absent of the PHMSA's Office of Public General Public Affairs, the investigator occasionally must respond to the media question during the circumstance of the investigation shall inform the media of the following with the statement. The accident over the investigation deal with the investigation will be released once the investigation closed and reported completely. If the incident is serious, the media will represent the most likely on the scene of the incident with the calling with obtaining the detail of the more numerous requirements of the information. Local, the regional, and the national media shall them managing a large number of the requests for the information for the interview of the public statement the overwhelming investigation of the PHMSA officer for the government public affairs shall determine the advance will be assigned with the person to speak with the media or prepare with the spokesperson to taking point for the speak clearly effective in terms of that can be easily understood. The following of the do and do nots to assist with the media interaction. Do be prepared to call and identify with yourself with the PHMSA. Spokesperson acts a report of the business. Ask reports for business cards. Speak only for the PHMSA. If not, distribute the carrier yourself with the setup, the save, the secure of the briefing area, with the position yourself with the line of the exit. Give a clear, high-level statement of the verified information, just the facts, and then transition to the step of the PHMSA. Taking focus on the points of the you issue of the bank rather than the reporter's questions. Show compassion with the concern of the affected people, and speak short with a clear portion and without jargon and technical detail, but provide with the written material to give the report with the background information. Alright, do not speculate with the accident incident call with the provider, the estimated call, but do not assign blame. Do not speculate, provide with the comparison war story, but do not be afraid. I don't have the answer, but no, I will like that into that, or I will get back to you. Don't allow reporters or sightseers to wander around the incident site unescorted. Don't discuss confidential information with the earshot of the person who don't know. Don't lose your temper, whimper, weep, or show any raw emotion in television interviews, especially thrive on emotion. Do not speak off the record. Assume that everything you will be used to report used in the reporter story. Do not say the no comment. Do not forget that you are reporting or representing the PHMSA. Media talking points. During the course of the incident investigation, the investigators may be called with the purveyor of the content of the person assigned with the communicate with the media with the following general guidelines should be followed with the preparing the talking points. Simple investigators should avoid the using the big words and technical jargon. Timely investigators should provide with the audience of the need to know. Accurate investigators stick with the fact that avoid speculation. Relevant investigators should be sure information corresponds with the happening. Credibility investigators should be build the credibility through the consistent, timely, and accurate information. Investigators should consistently repeat the message safety and in protection of the people, the property, the environment, and the primary on-site response goal. With the step of the being and the taking and accomplishment of the goal, the personal message tailored or targeted audience investigators should pay particular attention for the need of the how, the craft of the message suit with the goal of the group. The messages should be provided in such a manner that they're give throughout the consideration prompt responsible cleaning up the responsibility involving federal, state government for the responsible parties, including should take care of the post-accident investigation, proceed with the documentation, case management system entries, investigative reports should be located with the case management system, include all evidence collected until the new accident investigation portal is complete. With the investigators should view the inspection with the portal with the case management system to upload with the accident investigation reports. Investigators shall file with the same procedure for the uploading of the case management system detailed in Chapter 5 of the manual. Investigators shall prepare a report with the case management system under the primary inspection code of the 51 depth of the jury investigation and other inspection performed with the conjunction with the incident with the appropriate secondary code will be entered. Also, important documentation will be loaded with the corresponding case management system report. With each location company inspection result of the incident investigation will support the reporting case management system. Investigative reports shall include the minimum of the following sections: executive summary, findings of the fact, conclusion, recommendation, including lessons learned. Any documents during the course of the investigation should be entered with the exhibit. The enforcement conduct with the documentation can be learned one single with the exhibit, and the enforcement initiated with the exhibit that should be determined in accordance with the Chapter 5 of this manual. Executive summary. Executive summary synopsis with the major fact of the incident shall provide with a high level of the overview, be no more than 2 pages in length, with include with the casual factor conclusion and recommendations. Her conclusion: investigator called to determine the conclusion approximate with the contributed with the root causes of the leading of the incident, the primary state, approximate the causal list of the chain of events prior to the occurrence of the incident, of the root cause of the typically initiated event, and with the trigger of the subsequent chain of events of the result of the incident over the time of the root cause may not be the same in the area and the incident. With the example, the root cause of the damage leading package of the highway over the ship or the failure of the train with the personnel with the load with the content with the how to select with the right pack of the investigators should leverage their evidence analysis of the evidence collected with the knowledge of the hazard material regulation, previous experience with determining collusion. Investigators contain not to have the hasty, impulsive, the abstained conclusion without fully collecting and analyzing the evidence of the fact. Recommendation: on the investigation report of the conclusion and with the next of the first step of the determining the recommendation action should be carried. The first response of the government official should be devoid of the record and same the event of the future. Most often the investigators examine the conclusion with the make appropriate the recommendation such for the revision of the hazard material regulations process with the guide with the practical stakeholders. Any lessons learned perhaps of the investigator during the course of the investigation should be included with the recommendation section of the report. Investigators can easily identify some lessons learned simply by asking what worked well, what didn't work so well. And during the course of the investigation, investigators should consider the conducting period of the lesson learned, reviews of the investigating team, if any, with the subject matter of the SMEs and the subject matter experts to seek the broader perspective. Post-incident case review plan. Post-incident review panel will evaluate the incident involving level 3 accident with a review with the concurring with the investigator finding the conclusion recommendation. Review panel will convey on an ad hoc basis of the compromise with the 5-person makeup of the panel. Will consist of the 1 person with the PHH 10, 1 person from the Engineering Research Division, PH 20, 1 member from the Program Management Data Statistical Division, PH 60, 1 regional director. Outside with the incident with the curve with the 1 member of the model partner agency with the primary jurisdiction over the mode of the transportation. For instance, the FMCSA, for the Highway, FRA, for the Rail, FAA, for the Air, the U.S. Coast Guard, for the Water, for the Review Panel will be shared with the DAA, FO. Review Panel may take a number of actions, include refer to the investigation back with the further action with the investigator, refer to the Office of Chief of the Council, legal review with another move with the program review with the other review panel satisfied with the report, with the shall the deem the investigation closed. Forward the report of PHMSA administrator with a courtesy. Filling the report timely death of the injury incident. The PHMSA program data statistics division regional office with a typically notified incident with the national response center by receiving the data with the form 5801. Has material incident report notification. PHMSA may also throughout the media complain with an online database. The other agency investigation leave with the national response center is notified of the incident meeting of the response with the title 49-171-15 by the shipping carrier with the other individual 12 hours. The incident with occurring with the Form 5801 is required that it be submitted no later than 30 days of the incident and date. In some cases, the shipper that carries the other individuals fail. The report with the required time frame of the incident the result of the serious injury requiring admission to the hospital or death. The PHA 60 informs the PHH 40 for infraction. PHH 40 works for the PHH 60. Collect needs forms and pursue enforcement, typically with a ticket violation for the failing to report in National Response Center and or submitting dot form 5801. Chapter 9, System Integrity Safety Program. Testing.